Hey everyone, welcome to my studio. I've got the background worked out how I want it, but none of that is stuck down yet. So I'm going to move it off and then put some thinset in and then move it back on. So to do that, I have been using this little board right here, but it's not big enough, so I had to go get a bigger board. I'm gonna move it onto here. And here are my photo references. You can see the sky on my St. Mark is not quite so bright as that one because that's the one we're going with. That's it. Purchased these two substrates that are wood flowers at a craft store. This one will be a daisy with white and yellow. This one will be sunflower. And I did one like this last year and I made it a velvet queen with red and yellow. This time I think I'm going to do a traditional with brown or dark center and yellow petals. But before I can begin either one of them, I need to prepare the substrate. And because this is wood, I'm going to use Kilz to seal it and to give it a white background so that if I have any more translucent glass, it will give it better color. Let me get after it. putting 2 or 3 coats of that primer on here just to get the coverage that I wanted. This is a rather large sunflower base. It's about 17.5 inches. And I want to give this middle portion, which measures 6 inches across, more dimension. So I have already cut out this ring. I cut it out of GoBoard using an exacto knife. And I'm going to glue it on here. I'm using silicone to glue it on. This is all going to be covered. I just used these reference lines that I had drawn on there to get it centered. There we go. I'll be putting this sun cabochon right smack in the middle. As you can see, it is amber and it is translucent. So on the white, it looks quite amber. But I am going to put a dark epoxy behind it, so it's going to be quite dark, and that's really what I'm looking for. I want this centered to be dark browns, blacks, and then there will be some bits of yellow in there. Beads I might end up using are these little faceted beads, these irridized black beads in irregular sizes and shapes, and then these aren't even beads, these are just little glass pieces, little glass pebbles, and they're perfect because they look just like seeds and they're pretty organic because they're all different. And then let me move this. I have a big case here of beads. I want to go dark, so let's see what I have here. I have some really nice ones in here. So I'll definitely use something from here. Not sure which ones, but I'm gonna get this whole thing out. And then I wanna have a little bit of color. So let's see. Ooh, maybe these brown ones and dark ones, those are really pretty. And these are the ones that look like seeds. These really look like sunflower seeds, but I like the brown too, so I'm gonna take these out. Don't want purple. Ooh, I do like the dark red. I use those in one of my sunflowers, this one. And they look very dark. When you look at them closely, you can see just a hint of the red in there, like that. I'll just take the whole thing out. So that should be enough to get me started. Before I'm ready to glue any of the beads or anything down, I'm going to create a little bit of a ramp in between the top of this height that I've built up and the substrate there. So I'm just using aluminum foil and a long strip. I crumple it up and crush it down. And then I jam it in there. I will glue this in place, and then I'll be using Apoxie Sculpt as my adhesive, and I'll place it right over the foil. Just mixed up a big wad of Apoxie Sculpt. If you somehow miss what adhesive I use, I try to put it in the video description, so you can always check the video description. But I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to put this cabochon right on, and then I am going to put the foil right into the epoxy. The foil is going to fill in the gap that's underneath this cabochon, just on the edge. And then it also will be covered with more epoxy. That just gives it more of a slope down. After I did this step, I realized that the only thing I've accomplished was that I made it flat, which I did not want. I wanted it to undulate a little bit up and down. So I ended up taking that foil out and the epoxy that was on top of it out and just beading right up to the edge of the cabochon. And the beads I used in the middle were pretty big, and so it worked out nicely that way. But this was a wasted step. Step here is to tie off the beads that you've finished with as you go. The border between the yellow and these pebbles, and then the red on the edge before I get to the yellow. So now I just have the rest of the yellow glass to go. That epoxy made quite a bit of a mess. I shouldn't have rolled it out on this part, but oh well, I'll cover it with glass. Now that the middle part is finished, I've pulled some different yellows to choose from. So I've got some pale yellows over here, and I've got some deeper, more orangey yellows over here, and this is the color palette I think I'm going to go with. I think it looks much better with this middle portion than these paler colors do. And so that's what I'm going to go with. Cutting an inventory of pieces from each of these yellows. And I'm going to try making some bigger pieces to start with. And then if they happen to be too big, like this one is, I will just trim them in half at an angle. Time to finish up St. Mark. Feels so good to finish one of these. Now I've got 4 total, and St. Matthew is done except for the wings and background. So I'll probably finish that one next before I start on the last 2. Before I start on St. Matthew, I'll wait for this to set up, and then I'll go ahead and cut it apart right here. Make sure that that's all. It was already cut, I believe, but I need to make sure it's separated. That's it. I have a new project I'm working on real quick. I picked up this substrate, which is glass, at Dollar Tree earlier this week, and then I got pretty far. So I just have a few pieces left, and I want to go ahead and knock those out. Some of these pieces that I put in on the edges, the green and turquoise, I sort of had pointy pieces, and then I kind of eyeballed it and cut them. But now I'm down to the nitty-gritty, and all I have is my little tiny scrap. I don't want to waste it. So I'm making a pattern piece. This is clear shelf paper that I purchased at Walmart, and I can just trace the shape on there, cut that out, put it on my glass, and then I have the perfect piece. I'm going to be grinding the edges of all of these. Say edge, I just mean this edge all the way around, not every edge of every piece. And I'm using GE Advanced Silicone on this one, mainly because I can't find GE2 silicone. This one is more expensive, but it's fine. I've just cut these 2 pieces, and this one doesn't quite fit, so I'm just gonna nip it down a little bit so it's thinner, and then we'll check it again. There. Now I'm gonna grind the edges, and then I can glue those in place. grout my sunflower with this Mapei sanded grout in black. As you can see, it's not a super dark black, it's more of a soft black. And I have a little bit of water in a cup. I'm gonna go grab my mask and mix them up. Mixed it, and it does get darker when you mix it, but I find that when you're finished grouting and it's set up, it's going to return back to that color. So this is the color you need to consider. Putting it together. Thanks for watching. See you next time.